Hey, LinkedIn, and welcome to Business Unusual. This is a live show where we talk about the changing nature of work. I'm Susie Jackson. I am news editor at LinkedIn, coming to you live today to talk about the jobs and industries that we now call the front lines without thinking twice. We've always honored medical workers in times of crisis, calling doctors, nurses, paramedics, and others heroes. But in the past months, we've added grocery clerks, rideshare drivers, delivery people, and others to that list. These are jobs that have often been overlooked and are now being praised effusively. A guest on Business Unusual earlier this week summed it up really well. I want to hear right now from Ariel Lopez. She was the CEO of the hiring platform Knack, speaking about this topic just a couple of days ago.
One of the things that came out of the pandemic that was really special is just the highlighting of all of the careers that are essential that we deem as non-essential, right? I think there's a tendency to look at blue collar jobs or people that are working in retail as being less than or as not successful as people that are working at a Facebook or a Twitter. And I hope that everyone recognizes that we are all equal and everyone is just as important as the other.
These are important jobs, as we're hearing Ariel say. I want to know, for those of you joining us in the stream today, are they your jobs? Are you essential workers? Have you been leaving your house every day since this pandemic began to go to work and put yourself at risk when information was uncertain and we weren't really sure what was safe and what wasn't? Are you not an essential worker? Would you like to say anything to these folks who have been helping us put what we need together in our everyday lives during these uncertain times? Let us know in the comments. Talk to me, talk to each other. We're going to get to as many of your comments and questions as we can today. Before I bring out my first guest, I want to look at some of the comments we are seeing from frontline workers on LinkedIn already. First, we have a nice comment here from Natalie. She works in retail at a design store. Her company gave herself and other full time employees the opportunity to return to work or not and to apply for medical leave. That benefit wasn't available to people who are part time, who also may not have qualified for unemployment. So it's uneven distribution of these kind of benefits in this time. She talks about that there's social distancing is in place, there's masks, there's hand sanitizer, saying that staff has mixed feelings about the virus and mixed fear levels, but that ultimately she finds everyone is really happy to be back to work. She also notes, though, that it's slightly painful to get back into the retail routine physically for her. She's in a design store. Perhaps that's moving furniture around after you've been quarantined for a few months. It can be hard physically as well as mentally to get back into the swing of work. We also have heard from Gerardo. He is a grocery store manager, saying that it's been really hectic, but it's nice when customers thank him and his team, seeing the hard work that they've been putting in to keep food on the shelves. They are trying to keep constant mind not to touch their faces, to wash their hands as much as possible, and keep distance from shoppers. They do want shoppers to know, try to keep your distance from them too. If you see someone stocking the shelves, try to steer wide of them as they're doing their jobs. Gerardo also wants to say thank you to everyone out there who is working on the front line to help serve their communities. With my first guest today, I want to keep talking about grocery stores specifically for a little while. They have kept us going throughout the coronavirus lockdowns. They've been as open as essential businesses the whole time, serving communities in vital ways. To talk about that, I want to welcome Jeff Brown to the show. He is the president and CEO of Brown Superstores Incorporated. Jeff, you run 12 grocery stores in the Pennsylvania and New Jersey area. Thank you for joining us today on Business Unusual to talk about that experience.
Thank you, Susie. Thanks for having me.
There was a time when grocery store employees were not considered frontline workers in danger because of the nature of their jobs. That time feels like a long time ago because, as we all know right now, those workers are putting themselves at somewhat of a risk every day to come out and interact with the public and serve us and get us what we need. What was it like psychologically to make that switch for you as a business owner and for your employees? I want to know, how did you talk them through it? How did you manage through that time?
So the switch is the right word because all of a sudden we discovered that we have to operate even though every other business doesn't operate. And the first thought that came to mind is, what do we do to protect our workers? And how do we reward them for doing what other people probably wouldn't want to do? So we immediately increased all workers $2 an hour. We also added a benefit that if they were to get sick from coronavirus, we would pay, independent of any other paid time off they have. We would pay their pay during whatever time it took for them to recover. And then we immediately got to work starting putting protections in. And some of those protections seem commonplace today, but we didn't have any planning and the government didn't give us very clear direction. And so we started putting up plexiglass shields. We immediately started to procure masks. We started distancing in the store, putting markers on the floor, and also adding personnel to limit the number of people that go into the store at one time. And so a lot of changes. The customers, some of them appreciated the protections, others didn't appreciate the protections. And I guess one of the positives of this whole experience is many people are thankful to our workers for showing up for work and continuing to serve them, while others wish they didn't have to have all these changes and argue about things like masks. The other thing is we gave our workers a choice. They didn't have to work. We would have given them a leave of absence. Some people did take the leave of absence. Others wanted to work, and we're proud that they could be a service to their community.
It's great that you've had flexibility in all this. And I know that your stores in particular, some of them are in former food deserts. I'm wondering if anything you've learned about the experience of making those stores successful and connecting to the community was especially helpful in your response to the pandemic and how you treated your employees and the communities that you serve.
Yeah, so a lot of the people that work for us, we're a mission-driven company. Groceries is hard work, but a lot of the people, we hire people from the local area. We've given people chances. We're an open employer that have given lots of people chances that don't always get chances. And so what we found, even though some of our peers in the food business were having trouble getting people coming to work, the vast majority of our workers showed up for work, because it's not just about a paycheck, because they could have gotten unemployment, but it's really about they knew that their family, their community needed to have food and medicine and the services we provide. And so, they felt compelled, we all did, to make sure that we were there for our customers.
That's really great, and it's not something that we see everywhere. We have Yvette in the stream saying she's a grocery worker, and she says she puts herself at risk every time she goes to work. She says customers still do not social distance, and as a worker, I struggle every day with this. Yvette says her company does not support her protection and the protection of her colleagues. So it's not a given that everyone's going to be able to respond, even feel the need to, or then be prepared to respond adequately to protect their employees. So thank you, Jeff, for taking care of your employees. And Bree says that they were always essential workers in her mind. So thank you, Bree, for tuning in. If you are just joining us now, this is Business Unusual. This is LinkedIn's live show where we talk about the changing nature of work. Today, we're talking about industries, jobs that didn't used to be considered frontline, but now most certainly are. Right now, I'm having a conversation with Jeff Brown. He runs over a dozen grocery stores in the New Jersey and Pennsylvania area. And Jeff, your stores are known for being community hubs. I want to hear about some of the services you offer that make your stores different from others and what that means for the communities you serve, especially now.
So when we started opening stores in food deserts, which now dates back over 15 years, we weren't positive in the beginning years how to serve people the right way. And we had town hall meetings to find out what challenges they had and what we could bring to bear in our stores, what merchandise we should sell, and learn about their religion, their culture. And so each of our stores are customized to the communities they serve. And some of them have health clinics. A lot of them have credit unions to help them avoid being taken advantage of by check cashing stores and payday lenders. They have other financial services to allow them to pay their bills inexpensively if they don't have a bank account. And we have a lot of fresh merchandise and homemade items to represent all the different people we serve. For example, in some of our stores, we have Muslim customers and we have halal product. We have Western Africans customers in certain stores, and we carry their product, or Jamaican customers. And so all along, we've been very curious and interested in the differences that exist in Philadelphia, where we have a lot of our stores. And both our employees teach us and the community teaches us. And as we learn about different people's cultures, we celebrate it, incorporate it into our business. And I think if you're interested in that, it makes it a very unique and fun place to work.
Thank you. And Caroline, she says this is all such a good point, that for everyone, work brings purpose and not just a paycheck. So you're saying that it's making it fun to come to work. It's making it more accessible for the communities you serve to shop and find what they need. I want to say hello to a few people joining us in the stream. We have Alfred from Hollywood. Welcome back. Fred from Rio. Crystal from Atlanta. Jake tells us that public supermarkets in Florida and Wegmans in Western New York, he finds that they're doing an excellent job of combining safety, service, and quality, saying safety is very intentional and visible in those stores. So he's seeing as a customer that the safety is very intentional and visible. He's saying, Jeff, I want to know from a leadership point of view, what do you think other leaders should be doing and thinking about their roles their businesses are playing as part of community and the kind of examples that they could be setting?
I think it has to do with the order of your thinking. And so when we first were surprised that we're going to be essential and we have to stay open, we have to protect people without guidance. The first thing was to think about how do we protect our workers? Because let's be honest, if our workers aren't safe, why would they come to work? And I think the kinds of things that CEOs think about, like how do you pay for the cost of doing all this, is a secondary thought. The first thought is you have to keep your workers safe. It has to be a place they feel comfortable going to. If not, they're not going to come and you're going to have all kinds of other problems. And then secondary, figure out how you're going to pay for everything. And so our first instinct was, don't worry about the money. Let's keep our customers and our employees safe. We monitored incidents of coronavirus from the very beginning. Our goal was to have 0 people sick as quick as possible. And we kept on tweaking our safety procedures until people weren't getting sick anymore. And I think we took that very seriously. All that being said, we do feel like we're in between two forces in society that want us to be more liberal or want us to be more strict. And we hear from both constant feedback. We're not strict enough. They want more distancing. They want more masks, less people in the store. And other people are like, don't bother me. I don't want to wear a mask. So we had to balance all that out and decide what is the appropriate stance to take. And we've tried to stick by what we think is the safest and best way to run our business during this time.
Yeah, it's a constant recalibration, right? You're hearing it from both sides. You're trying to serve the community, you're trying to protect employees, and some people are saying dial it up, and others are saying, don't tell me what to do. I think it's a really challenging time for other leaders in business to navigate this. It's constantly changing. I'm curious, you're also working with other local leaders to support different local businesses. Can you tell us about the 30-day fund?
Yeah, so we had a situation where unfortunately a couple of our stores had a looting situation and they were destroyed, and they were in food deserts, and we immediately put a lot of resources to get those stores back open because those communities counted on us. And I was thinking about that for all the small businesses in Philadelphia that don't have that kind of support. How would they get reopened? And so some colleagues and I started the PA 30-day fund, pa30dayfund.com if you want to learn about it. And we started raising money and putting our own money in to help get our neighboring businesses back open in Pennsylvania and definitely in Philadelphia, especially minority and women-owned businesses. So we've raised about $2 million so far. And we have given out 335 $3,000 forgivable loans. In addition to that, a business person from our board calls each business and finds out, is that going to help them get reopened or do they need other help? We are organizing other types of assistance to try to get as many of our small businesses back open. And I think it's important because if we stand on the sidelines and do nothing, our cities they're not going to be what we're accustomed to. There's going to be no place to get services. There's going to be no place to shop. There's going to be permanent impaired unemployment. And so we didn't want that. And we know the government has programs, but they seem to not help every small business because of the way the small business operates. A lot of them didn't qualify for assistance. And those are the ones we really wanted to help. And it's our goal to get 1,000 small businesses that were going to go out of business, to prevent them from going out of business and get them back open so we can return, society to what we're accustomed to.
I think that's amazing that you've raised that much money, that the loans are forgivable, but not only that you're giving those funds out, that you're calling to check in and saying, is this actually going to help? I think as so many people try to figure out what ways they can help their communities, what ways they can help in so many ways, it's not just the donate and forget. You're saying you're checking back in with that business. Is this enough? What more do you need in terms of assistance? I'm curious for other businesses, speaking of giving help, who might just be reopening now. You've been open the whole time. What would you say to a business right now that's just starting to reopen and try to figure out their plans for how to do that safely?
So if your business is, forget about the law for a second or what the governor or mayors may require of you. If the consumer doesn't feel the business is safe, they're not going to go there. And so when you walk into one of our stores, we have a little sanitation station we staff it with a person, and we sanitize your cart, your hands. We make sure you have a mask. And it's very, very clear that we're taking this seriously. Even though some people would like us to be more strict, it's perfectly clear the effort we're trying to make. And first, we put up, every time you interface with customers and employees, we put up a plexiglass shield. But we found that there still could be some improvements, and we've tweaked that over time. And in our checkouts, we have a plexiglass shield on the customer-facing side, but the other side also, your back's to a customer, and we ended up putting a curtain up on that side. So we've continued to tweak our safety procedures, especially when we got feedback from our customers. Plenty of hand sanitizer, extra masks. We require all our employees to wear a mask. We take temperatures of our employees and vendors. If our employee has temperature, we send them home, we pay them till they're better, and we don't let them in the store. And our vendors, we don't let them in the store if they have temperature, because we're taking this seriously. And our goal is to get no one sick. And so we monitor that. And for the last month, we've had next to no new sicknesses in our business. And that is a sign that we're starting to get to the point that our safety procedures are working well enough to keep people healthy. And that's what you want.
That's great, Jeff. It's wonderful to see you paying such close attention to this, to monitoring things, not just setting it once and forgetting it, but constantly coming back and making sure, is this safest for employees? Is this best for customers? Thank you for sharing all this information today, especially those practical tips at the end for other businesses. It was a pleasure having you on the show today.
Thank you for having me, Susie. I appreciate your show.
Thank you so much, Jeff. That was Jeff Brown, CEO of Brown Superstores, 12 grocery stores in the Pennsylvania and New Jersey area, talking to us about managing a business through this time as grocery stores have become the front lines. And I want to hear a couple more comments that we're seeing on LinkedIn from workers who are now on what we consider the front lines. Lori is a retail associate saying she loves her job and company, that it is put some procedures in place that some may find excessive to keep employees safe, but they've made her feel better about dealing one-on-one with customers. She finds that her and her colleagues are absolutely concerned about safety, and she understands that some may not return to work or have genuine stress when they do about working so closely with the public. We also are hearing from Tracy. She too is a retail associate, saying that she's experiencing some customer pushback now that her store is trying to implement things like one-way shopping aisles or customers wearing masks. She's found some of those interactions to turn aggressive. She wonders if it's because of fatigue with the new normal or maybe contradictory messaging from local and national leadership. She says it puts her and her colleagues at a disadvantage as they try to keep everyone safe. We heard that a little bit from Jeff too. You have some people in the public thinking you're not doing enough, some people who think you're doing too much. It's a really tough position to be. You've been a frontline worker this whole time, putting yourself at risk, but now you find yourself having to manage some stressful conversations with customers, and there's really no playbook to do that. To talk a little bit more about that experience of having to work with the customers every day as things change, I want to welcome my next guest. Melissa Cruz is a store manager at Walgreens in Mesa, Arizona. Melissa, welcome to Business Unusual.
Hey, Susie, thanks for having me.
So earlier on, there was not very much trusted information about staying safe. What was it like when Corona first started? Just back up a little bit. When it first started to feel real and lockdowns began, but you still had to come into work and manage your team. What was that like?
Yeah, it was interesting because you start to hear about it hitting certain parts of the country, and being in Arizona, you kind of think, oh, maybe it won't get to us. And then we had a first couple cases at ASU, which is pretty close to my store, and then it starts to become a little bit more real. And that was before we really talked about social distancing and cleaning and all that stuff. I mean, we try to have a really healthy environment at Walgreens anyway, because, we have a lot of different folks come in the store for their prescriptions and stuff like that. But we really had to kind of pay attention to the news and everything that was happening, and really educate my employees as far as what was going on, and just taking it upon ourselves to, clean and listen to the customers. And we even implemented social distancing pretty early on, just to try to educate our customers and keep them safe and keep employees safe.
And now we're seeing cases in Arizona spike. So you were talking about in the beginning, maybe it didn't feel quite as real. Then it starts to hit closer to home. And now that we've seen it peak in places like New York, I hope it's the peak. These cases are rising in your area. Well, what has that been like to manage your own mentality through that and that of your team when danger has felt closer and further away at different times?
Yeah, I've kind of described it as if you've ever been in Arizona, you know what a haboob is. And it kind of feels like a haboob that's just closing in on you like a dark cloud.
Wait,
And you really just
I
have
don't,
to.
I don't know what a haboob is.
A haboob is a dust storm. So
A
just
dust storm.
you see
Okay.
them, if you Google it, you'll see them on like a big cloud just starts to move across the city. And that's what it kind of starts to feel like. And I really try to get out and talk to my team members often and talk to the customers often and kind of feel, get a feel of what their fears are and really just talk them through it. When you have a close call, then you can really reiterate and drive home the safety measures that we're taking to make sure that everybody's following them and confident, and that's what's going to keep us safe.
And we're hearing that from Jeff too. You might be open, but if customers don't feel safe, if employees don't feel safe, it really doesn't work. I'm curious, how has Walgreens communicated with you? Do you feel like you've gotten effective, reassuring messaging from them? Have there been ample options and flexibility for your team to remain working and to remain as safe as they can?
Oh, absolutely. I think the company has been great at communicating with us daily. We even have a COVID resource site that we are, told to check in daily. We get, daily and weekly updates as far as what's going on and what safety measures we should be taking. We get that communication directly from our district manager as well. So I think the communication is there for sure. I really take it upon myself as a store manager to make sure I'm staying ahead of it with my employees and making sure that I'm paying attention to the news and what's going on and really kind of communicating to them so that they're prepared with how customers are going to act as well.
Yeah, and we have some folks in the stream joining us. Robert says these are real heroes and they need some extra type of incentives for them and their families. Julia says helping small business is a great thing for the economy. Walgreens not a small business, but on the local level, these are folks who work in your community and live there too. Um, let's see. Cindy says it absolutely right. If a customer feels safe, they will come. There's been too much misinformation and politicizing of things. Melissa, tell me, how has your mentality about work changed, if it has, and your team, and the way that you're trying to manage them through this as information keeps changing?
I think the what she had talked about, the publicity of this conversation is probably one of the things that just gets under my skin just a little bit, just because it's a global pandemic. It's not about what side of the fence you're on politics wise, and really knowing that I try to keep my mentality focused on the safety measures, focus on keeping the team members safe, focus on keeping the customers safe, and really focus on that than trying to get into a political debate.
Have you been in any of those experiences? Have you had customers that want to engage you on that level? And how do you coach your team through those situations? It can be really difficult on the individual level to encounter that kind of a conversation.
Yeah, and we talk about us being frontline heroes and essential workers, and really to me, my team members are the essential workers and the heroes. They're the ones that have to deal with every single customer as they're checking them out or helping them in the aisles, and I try to support them as best as I can. I basically tell them I drive home every day. I don't want them having the difficult conversations with the customer. I want to be the one to do that because that's what I'm here for, is to work through those conversations. And there have been some difficult ones. And you just listen, and you keep in the back of your mind that really the reason why customer gets so aggravated at the end of the day, they're scared, and they have every right to be and have every right to, how they feel and everything. And I just try to listen and talk them through that and reassure that we are trying to do everything we can to keep everybody safe.
That's great to hear that you're giving your employees that support and offering to step in to have those difficult conversations on their behalf if they do come up. You mentioned the word hero. And we started the show by talking about how we're used to calling medical workers heroes, but now we're calling people at Walgreens, we're calling people at the grocery store heroes. How does it feel to hear people refer to you in that way now?
I'd have to say for me personally, it's kind of awkward just because I've been in retail for a long time. This is the job that I love. This is what I've always done. And taking care of customers is just what I love to do. And I really feel like my team members that are on the registers, that are the pharmacy technicians, that those are the real heroes because they deal with customers in and out every day. I, in fact, put a, when heroes was starting to be a big thing, I put a heroes work here sign out in front of my store just to really show some appreciation for my team members and everything they do every day.
Well, that's great. Even if it doesn't feel totally natural for you to say thank you to someone for calling you a hero, it's nice to give that feeling to your employees and to be such a supportive manager to them. Melissa Cruz, thank you so much for joining us on Business Unusual today and sharing all these insights.
Thank you for having me, Susie.
And thank you to all of you in the stream for coming to the show today, for letting us know where you're saying hello from, for your comments and questions. We love the community element of this show and hope that you tune in every day. We're here live at 12 Eastern from the LinkedIn news page, 5 days a week. Tomorrow, I'm going to be welcoming two designers to the show, Daniel Stillman and Jessica Gaddis. We're going to be having a conversation about beating Zoom fatigue, about digital conversations and communications, and some strategies that we can be employing when we're having all these meetings like this. How we can do that in a more energetic way and productive way. I hope that you will tune in then tomorrow, noon Eastern. I'll see you then. Thank you so much.